And as the sheriff alluded to, we were able to get these dangerous firearms. And what was unique about some of these firearms, to include the handgun that you see down here and there, what was unique was Mr. Rivera, as we saw during surveillance, made some improvised weapons. He had these two particular firearms zip-tied or taped to an axe. So if somebody saw him outside wielding an axe around, you might not know that there was a handgun also attached to it, making it that much more dangerous. Along with one of the rifles over here, which was attached to the end of a sword. And so we saw him commonly out in the front yard wielding these things around during daylight hours, posing a threat to the community. Not necessarily going after and being aggressive, but being in possession of them for anybody to be able to see. So that moved it up onto the top of our priority, given the school that was virtually in the backyard of this residence. So once we were able to establish the probable cause, that was the thing that we jumped on first, with our biggest concern being the firearms. As we searched the residence, we found several safes that contained a large amount of cash, to a total of $14,104.01. We also located a various amount of drugs, to include a trafficking amount of cocaine, which was almost 2 ounces. We found a felony amount of marijuana and a trafficking amount of hydromorphone pills. Now, with the amount of hydromorphone pills that he had, that is consistent with minimum mandatory sentencing of 25 years in prison. So that's the type of, and the amount of drugs that we were talking about that are being dealt here. Along with the trafficking amount of the hydromorphone, he also had a trafficking amount of the oxy-30s, which is a very, very dangerous drug, and people are literally dying from overdosing on these. And so he was arrested for the same of that as well. So with the deals that we had that led to the search warrant, we were able to obtain arrest warrants for both he and Lauren Rosner for sale and possession of a controlled substance within 1,000 feet of the school, and ultimately led to this search warrant, like I had said. Once we were in the residence, we were able to confirm several things that we were provided intelligence on, to include multiple surveillance cameras that were set up along the outside of the residence to be able to track movement, potentially of law enforcement or other dealers or buyers. That's a particular concern because if sheriff's deputies respond to this residence, their actions can be seen before we can see them. So we were able to disconnect those and make it safe for any future actions. So, as the sheriff also stated, these were 2 career criminals that have been dealt with not only in the state of Florida, but Mr. Rivera also had numerous charges in New York, so he's no stranger to illegal activity. And James Early, numerous violent crimes, to include aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, as well as burglaries and grand theft. So we were able to get 2 very dangerous men off the street. And what was probably the most gratifying of the entire day was when myself, Captain Turney, and Sergeant Lamia, we went door to door to the different residents that were around that neighborhood and explained kind of what was going on, because as you can imagine, there was a big commotion as we executed this warrant. And to see the expressions on their face of relief and gratitude towards the sheriff's office that this house was being dealt with, and they no longer had to endure this type of activity where they lived. And no less than 10 or 15 people drove by, waving hands, giving us thumbs up, and it felt good to know that the people within this neighborhood, the people within Hernando County, especially the students that attend Gulf Coast Academy Middle School, are that much safer because these people are locked up behind bars. And hopefully with the extents that we went for this case, they'll be in prison the better part of the rest of their lives. So it was very gratifying. A lot of work went into it. I'm very proud of the members of the Vice Narcotics Unit, the Selective Enforcement Unit, the SWAT team, Animal Services, and the Patrol Division that went into helping us make sure that this search warrant was executed safely and effectively.